can report back to you, there are people like you in every constituency coming out in brilliant numbers, really positively, full of energy to change this country for the better. So thanks to all of you. I thought that in 2017 we had brilliant numbers out and brilliant positivity, and I have to say there was a moment when we decided to have another general election and to do it in the middle of winter, when I had just a little doubt as to whether we would get the numbers out again, because it'd be cold, it'd be wet, it'd be raining, it'd be dark. But I've been amazed that across the country we've got more people out this time than even we had in 2017. Absolutely brilliant. And that's what we've got that no other political party has. It's that passion about our politics. And the job here is to get Lloyd back. We need him in Parliament. Whatever you've done so far, you've just got to keep on doing it, because we must have him back in our Labour team. We must have him there, and we must have everybody back there, and we must have new people back there, because we've got to do even better than we did in 2017. We've really got to keep pushing, because this is such an important election. It's such a pivotal election. It's more important in many respects than 2017 and 2015, because the stakes are really, really high. It's called as a Brexit election. Johnson's Brexit deal is a really bad deal. I haven't got time to go through why I think it's a bad deal, but it's a really bad deal. It's a right-wing deal. It's not just the technicalities. He wants to rip us away from our EU partners. He wants to rip us up from the standards that we've got on working people, on the environment and consumers. And when he's done that, he's going to do a deal with Trump. He is going to do a deal with Trump. And when you align with Trump, you align with his politics. And that is the complete opposite of what we care about, what we fight about day in, day out. In America, the average time off for holidays is 10 days a year. And most people don't dare take it. Many, many contracts are at will, fragile, insecure. Hire and fire as you like. That's the economy. And if you can believe it, the gap between those at the top of the earnings and those at the bottom is even bigger than here. And that's where he will take us. And anybody who thinks that the NHS is not going to be part of this, think again. They'll disavow it now, but it'll be part of the talks. That's why we've seen those papers that Jeremy was showing us 48 hours ago. Those big drug companies want their hands on the NHS data, and they want to drive up the price of drugs. They've been arguing for that for years. So that's where it'll take us. And I don't think Johnson's got any principles, any moral anchors. I think he'll go wherever he needs to go to stay in power. And that's a very dangerous man. Because that Tory party is moving to the right, day by day, month by month, year by year. All of the new Tory intake this time, they've got rid of anybody who had any doubts about a right-wing project. They've either pushed them out, they've stood down, or they've gone to other parties. They will be replaced by right-wing Tories. So we know where this government's going to go. And what do they promise us? More austerity. More austerity on top of what we've already had. So the stakes are really, really high. The alternative is a Labour government to pull us back from the brink. And people say to me, oh, your Brexit policy, well, that's a bit complicated, isn't it? That's a bit confused, isn't it? And I say to them, give me 10 seconds and 3 sentences. And you can time me if you like. We'll secure a better deal than Johnson's got. We'll put it up against Remain in a referendum. And we'll do that within 6 months. That's it. For the avoidance of doubt, I will be campaigning to Remain. Because I do not believe there's a better deal than the one that we've got. More fundamentally, I'm an internationalist. Our party is over 100 years old. And we learned from the beginning that all struggles are international. We've always stood in solidarity with others in other countries internationally. We've always believed in collaboration and cooperation. And if you think of the three biggest challenges to the UK in the 21st century, terrorism, conflict, climate change, you're not going to solve that in one country on your own. You're only going to solve those challenges, meet those challenges, if you act internationally with other countries in collaboration and cooperation. If you think about the brilliant opportunities, medical research, scientific research, arts, culture, you're not going to do that on your own. You're only going to do that in collaboration and cooperation with other countries. So we need to win to get that opportunity to put this question back to the people so that they can decide the outcome. But my experience going around the country, and I think probably here as well, is Brexit isn't the issue that's coming up in the doors. Most people want to talk about wider issues. What are you going to do about the health service? What are you going to do about the cuts to public services? Everybody knows that austerity has borne down on our country. 10 years. 10 years of public services being cut. 10 years of mental health services not being what they should. 10 years of housing not being built when it should be built. 10 years of schools now writing to parents saying, can you spare some money for the school because we can't make ends meet? Our primary schools writing to our parents to say, can you help us out with some cash? We should be ashamed of where this government's taken us. And homelessness. The moral disgrace of homelessness. A political choice. A political choice of the last 10 years. And people know that. They feel that in their bones. And they're crying out for change. And we deserve change. And we've got a duty to give them that change. That's what we're here for. We didn't join the Labour Party for the status quo. We didn't join the Labour Party to keep things as they are. We're in the Labour Party to change things. And people say to me, well, your manifesto, that's a bit ambitious, isn't it? You've got a lot packed in there. And I say, yeah, we have. Because a manifesto has to match the challenge that we're up against. And we can't say housing is inadequate, homelessness is awful, we need more money for our schools and our education, and then say, well, what we've got for you, we've got a nice little offer, it's not really very much, not going to change much, but that doesn't look too ambitious. We've got to rise to the challenge. And frankly, I'm sick of us messing around and tinkering at the edges. We've got to be prepared to do things more fundamental than we've done before if we're really going to get to the bottom of this and change it for the better. And let me give you just one small example of that. Frank Dobson was my predecessor in Holiness and Pancras. A great man. Not least because he was council leader before he was an MP. And the first thing he did when Thatcher said you've got to sell your council houses, he shifted them off to housing associations on a deal to make sure they couldn't be bought. And that's why in Camden we've still got a lot of housing that's actually council housing or social housing, because he got it off the books pretty quickly so they couldn't be bought. But Frank was MP for 36 years. And he died tragically 2 weeks ago, a great loss. And I had to do a tribute for him in the local paper. And in order to prepare for that, I looked at the manifesto that Frank first wrote for himself in Holiness and Pancras way back then, which is 41 years ago now. And guess what he was saying? He said we need adequate, affordable housing. We need housing that's in good condition. We need housing at rents and prices people can afford. We need an NHS service that is properly funded. We need public services properly. And as I read through this manifesto, I realised I could cut and paste it into my 2019 brochure going out for this election. And that saddened me hugely, because we've been tinkering around the edges for too long. I don't want us in 30 or 40 years